This week's parsha is Parshas Pekudei. Parshas Pekudei begins with the delineation, a reckoning of all the different materials that were used in the tabernacle, exactly what was given, and how those specific things that were given, how were they used, where were they used, in what amount were they used in. And of course, the commentators want to know what's the purpose of this. Amongst many other answers given, the Rabbeinu Bechaya says the reason why is surprisingly to show how little was needed for the tabernacle. And despite how little was needed, there was a tremendous significance to the tabernacle above and beyond any other edifice built for the glory of God. We have two other major edifices that were created, that were constructed specifically to house God's glory. And of course, they are the first and the second temple. They were much more elaborate than the tabernacle. They were larger. There were more materials used, obviously, and the specifics of the structure were much more intricate. There was a lot more thought put into its design, into how its physical beauty, and it was admired by all people. But the tabernacle, despite being a thing of beauty, physical beauty, in comparison to the two temples was nothing. But despite that, Rabbeinu Bechaya says, it was valued far beyond the two temples. Why is this? The answer is that the people who gave the materials, the people who donated their things to build the tabernacle, they gave with a pure heart. They were so excited to give. They wanted so badly to be a part of the construction. So every single penny that was used in this tabernacle, its source was a source of truth. It wasn't imposed on the Jews to donate for the building of the tabernacle. It was something that they were excited to do. And because of that, despite its size, despite its comparison physical beauty, it is considered much more prominent. In fact, the tabernacle lasted beyond the two temples. The tabernacle was never conquered or taken by enemies of the Jews, as opposed to the other two temples. And that is because that its source, its building blocks, were given with a pure heart. Just a quick question on this week's parsha. The Bigdei Kahuna, the garments that the Kohanim were made of two materials, two amongst other materials that are prohibited normally to wear together, and that is wool and linen, what we call shatnez. Now, despite the fact that they were clearly in violation of a negative commandment, there was wool and linen sewn in together into the garments. They wore them, of course, because that's what the verse states explicitly. Despite having the wool and linen, the obligation is for the Kohanim to wear them. We find something else also that this is true. If a person is wearing tzitzis, the Gemara learns that the fabric of the garment that has the tzitzis on them, the tzitzis strings on them, can be of wool. In fact, that's the best way a person should wear tzitzis. Tzitzis should be made of wool. The talis is made of wool. Despite that, the strings of the talis that are hanging from holes at its corners optimally should be made of linen. That's the best way to make them. So you have wool and linen, a biblical prohibition that Hashem specifically is commanding us to fashion our tzitzis in this way. Now, of course, there are other ways to make tzitzis, but you definitely are allowed, and they're not doing anything wrong, by having a garment of wool that the strings attached to that woolen garment are linen, which is clearly a Torah prohibition of shatnez. Nonetheless, it's allowed, and there's no problem. How do we understand why both by the Bigdei Kahuna, the garments that the Kohanim wore, that Hashem specifically makes it that they are shatnez, they are wool and linen together, and so too with tzitzis we see the same phenomenon. Have a good Shabbos.